Hi everyone, Gingerbell here with Gingerbell Designs for Country Craft Creations. And today I am going to assemble a fun little mini album using the gorgeous new Attic Antiques Country Craft Creations exclusive. This paper is absolutely adorable and I love it because I'm also an antique collector. So what we're going to make is a 5x5 album. This album is going to have a shadow box cover, and that will be this piece here, which I will show you how to make that. But first I'm going to put the album together. Now this one I am not doing in the lay flat method like I usually do. I'm actually going to wrap this one because it is a smaller album. So what I've done here is I have taken a piece of the Craft Artisan. I'm trying to find my ruler here, it's buried. And I have cut that to 7 inches by 12. And then I added a piece on using adhesive at the end at 3 inches by that 7 inches. And I put some lines on here to kind of guide me with my 1 inch to make sure that I have an inch on the top, the bottom, and the sides. And then I am just going to simply take some score tape and glue. Normally I use my Xyron laminator to make my albums, and I am doing it a little bit differently today. So I want my smaller tape, and again, like I said, these are 5x5. I'm going to flip this over so I can see. So you have two 5-inch by 5-inch pieces of the chipboard. And then we have a 2-inch by 5-inch chipboard for the spine. And like I said, I'm going to do this in the traditional wrap method rather than using the lay flat. And just going to put tape around the outside, and then we're going to put glue in the middle of these. So I'm going to get these taped here. There's those two. And then again, like I said, I have a 2x5 piece for our spine. And I'm going to do the same thing on it. You can use glue entirely. You don't have to put the score tape on the outer edges. I just prefer this. Just a little extra stability, and it also instantly sticks, so I don't have to wait as long for glue to dry. All right. So now that I have that, I am going to add, first I'm going to burnish down all of this tape. And this is going to be kind of a little, just a little brag book. I mean, it'll have 5 pages. Some of them pocket pages with a couple flips and folds and a couple inserts, photo mats and such. Mainly I wanted this to be like a, like I said, like a little brag book. So it doesn't need to be super large. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to remove the tape from my first 5x5. And then I'm going to add glue in the middle of that. And I don't want the glue too heavy because I don't want it to be all lumpy and bumpy. We're going to smooth it out with a tool, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't get too lumpy. So I'm going to put my 5x5 here, leaving about an inch on the top, bottom, and side. And get that lined up as straight as I can. All right, I'm going to flip it over, and I am going to smooth out that glue that's on there with a bone folder. Just to make sure. I do have a large smoothing tool. Here it is. Thought I had lost it. Just make sure you go from the inside all the way out to the corners, and that will smooth your glue nice and straight. Next, I'm going to do my spine piece. Pull off all my tape. Add glue to the inside. And now this piece we want to put on here, and we want it to be about, I've got a little tape hanging over there. I don't want that. So let's put it right side up. I want it to be about 1/8 of an inch away from our first square there. And you can use your, if you have the spacer bars from Country Craft Creations, you can use one of those to guide you as well. I'll go ahead and make sure this one is all burnished and peel this tape off for our last one. Yeah, add that glue. And I'm probably going to have a little more than 1 inch at the end. I just took a scrap to add to that 12 inches of paper when I first put this together. So it doesn't matter. As long as it wraps around the album and you have enough, having too much isn't a problem. So I'm going to line this up with that about 1/8 of an inch of space. Make sure that we're right at the top and the bottom. Don't want a crooked album. And there we go. Yep, that's a little. That's all right. Okay. So now we have our basic wrap method going here. Now I just want to take the album So mine went on a little crooked on the paper, but that's okay. As long as the album, when you wrap everything, it's going to still be straight. As long as these line up with each other, we should be fine. I'm just making sure. But I'm going to start wrapping. And these pieces that wrap around, obviously, they're not going to be even. I don't know if I cut it wrong or if I bent it wrong, but we will find out when we start to wrap it. So just kind of bend the paper around all 4 sides so you get a nice corner so that you can miter that. You won't see the edges of the paper on the inside when we mat it, so with this one, so it doesn't really matter if I got it a little crooked, as long as, like I said, the album itself is not crooked. And it doesn't look like it is, so I think we're fine. So I'm just going to go along and I'm going to add that score tape again, but this time just all the way around the outside here. So we're just going to go all the way down, and don't worry about it going in the spine. You want that. It just adds a little extra. I'm going to go all the way down both sides. because I think I might run out of score tape on this roll here. I'm not quite sure. And then I'm going to run it here. Yep, I knew that was about to run out. Might have just enough for this album, for this part. A little extra. That's okay. All right, so I'm gonna get another roll here. Because we need to put, go ahead and burnish that out. Like I said, don't worry about it going in here. That just adds stability. It won't hurt anything with your album. And then I just want to run another along the outside of the paper itself. So this will adhere in the middle here. And this will adhere to the inside portion. And now that I'm looking at this, I think it's my paper that I might have cut a little bit crooked, or when I put these two together, I might have got it a little offset. I don't think that I set it on here crooked. It happens. And this one, like I said, I decided not to use the lay flat method. Normally, that's all my go-to. But I just wanted to do something a little different this time. And so I chose to do it with the regular wrap method. And I ran out of tape again, and I'm about to run out again. Time to stock up on score tape, I think. Not quite sure if I'll have enough. Oh, just barely. Not quite. And I had that little piece left over. I don't want to waste it, so I am just going to put it right there. All right. So then we're going to go through, burnish, excuse me, burnish all that tape down. And then find where your corners are, and we're going to cut, leaving at least 1/8 of an inch from the corner of the paper into the other portion. You don't want to cut off too much paper because then your corners will show. And we don't want that. So we're just going to miter all the way around. And if you have too much, like I always say, you can cut it off. But if you don't have enough, you can't add it. So start small. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm going to have way too much. So I'm going to go ahead and miter mine just a little bit closer. Everybody has their own way to miter. Not everybody does it this way. Some people just cut one side. Some people cut the whole corner out. It's fine either way, as long as when you wrap, you have enough paper. All right. So now what I want to do, now that I have this, if you're not familiar with this method, I am going to put glue all the way down in the line that goes up against the edge of our chipboard pieces. And then in that blank space, I'm going to go ahead and add some more glue just for stability. And I am going to peel off that long tape and peel this one off as well. And then I want to start in the middle and just kind of work that paper so that it gets up against there with the glue that we put in there. Go ahead and start right in that middle section and then work your way down on both sides. We want to make sure that our paper doesn't buckle too much. There we go. Smooth that one out. And then just grab a cloth. Get any excess glue out of there. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm sure you probably can't see the entire album in the camera view. I'm hoping that you can see most of it. Go ahead and run that bead of glue all the way down up against the chipboard. And then add some in there. I missed a piece of tape here. And we're going to start in the middle. Just, you can use your hand as well. If you don't have a good flat bone folder, just to make sure that that paper is actually coming all the way up and around. You want to make sure that you don't get any buckles. So by starting in the middle, it's much easier. And I just want to get rid of all that excess glue. And then, as you can see, you were reminded, you have a little extra here. And you just want to push those down and in so that they don't buckle on themselves when we put the ends in. So we're just going to push that in, and you can really get them flat if you use your bone folder. And then go ahead and peel off the tape. Add some glue along the edge. And again, pull up from the middle and over. Now the ends will be a little bit easier to do because they're smaller, obviously. That's why I always do the longer sides first. Go on the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. All right. Now that everything is on here, we're going to go around, take a bone folder, and just flatten out all of your edges. Give you a nice crisp look. And I usually do a couple passes both directions just to make sure I'm getting a nice straight album. Okay, so that is that portion. Now what you're going to do is take a bone folder carefully, because you don't want to break your paper, and just go in, start working in where we put where the spine meets. And you can bend it a little just to make sure that you're going to have enough space in there. Like I said, it's a little, probably a little touch more than 1/8 of an inch that you needed between those pieces so that everything closes. See? And now we have this fun little tiny 5x5 album. Not sure why it's making that noise. I hate it when my albums make noise. Something isn't stuck all the way. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Okay, so next we're going to make our spine piece, our accordion spine that will hold the pages inside the book. And what you need for that is your scoreboard, a scoring tool, and a sheet of paper 4 7/8 by 11. So to start this off, we're going to score this lengthwise at 2. You don't have to do the 2.5 mark really heavy. This is mainly so it will fit on the book and give you a little space. It's just a guide. The rest of them you'll want to score so they can be folded. So 3, and then you want 3.5, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5, 5.5, 6, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 1/4, 7.5, 8, and 8.5, and then that light 1/2 inch mark here. Okay. And I'm not quite sure Yes, that gives you that 2.5. All right, and then we're going to fold this. So to fold this, you want to grab all of your 1/2 inch. Skip that first 1/2 inch mark. Go to the second set of 1/2 inch where you have 2. And just start folding those up into mountain folds. You want to get these as even as possible so that you have nice straight gussets for your pages. And you should have 5 sets of the 1/2 inch gussets. And those are what you need to be folding. Okay. Now this is what you will have if I show you the back here. Next, I'm just going to take some score tape. That is, I believe this one is 3/8 inch. I don't want to do quite half because I don't want it to take a chance of hanging over. So I am going to run this 3/8 inch tape down one side of each one of my 1/2 inch sets. Make sure you don't go over any of your score lines. Just do it right down the middle of that 1/2 inch section. One more here. So this is what you should have. 5 sets of tape. And we're just going to burnish out that tape before we start peeling. Make sure we have a nice stick. And then one at a time, we're going to peel these. And we are going to fold and make sure that our folds are nice and even and straight before burnishing. Okay, here's one. Peel the next one. And you can kind of fold it up with that your 1/4 inch space, and that is the line that you want to burnish so that this all stays nice and evenly straight across the back. So I'm going to fold this at that 1/4 inch space. Make sure that my score lines line up with the next 1/2 inch space, or excuse me, 1/4 inch space. And we're going to fold. Again, I'm going to fold in that 1/4 inch space and go to the next one. And just make sure that I am lining everything up before I burnish. You can see how nice and straight that's going at this moment. And the last one, same thing, just going to pull that in. Make sure that we're all in line with our score lines. And burnish it out. And this is what you will have. 5 pages with 1/4 inch spaces in between. And just give those a nice burnish. Make sure everything is cooperating. And I'm going to move this out of frame. And we will flip this over and just kind of flatten it out. Make sure everything lines up nicely. And then where you have that, this here, we're going to go over into that 1/2 inch space just a little bit. We're just going to go ahead and we are going to place tape where we put that light 1/2 inch mark right next to that on both sides. And I will hold this up to the camera here so you can see as soon as I get this tape on here what I'm doing. So as you can see, we had those light 1/2 inch marks, excuse me, after the 2 inch on the side here. And that's where the tape needs to go. And then just fill it in the middle with more tape. You can also use score tape sheets for this part if you want to just put it all in one piece and not have to do the strips of tape. That works just as well. And I like to do it this way just to make sure I don't have any lumps or bumps, so I don't put any tape on this portion yet. I'm going to be using glue to close this all up. So make sure you get a nice good burnish on all of that tape. And I'm going to open these up a bit. So that I can see where my 1/2 inch marks are. And right next to that is my first one. So I'm going to grab my book, and I apologize, I did have a boo-boo and had to pull one off. So as you can see, my book has some messiness, but it won't show when I put this paper on. So you want to make sure when you look at this that you have this lined up so those 1/2 inch marks should overhang just a tiny, about 1/8 of an inch past where the score line is for your book, okay, before you put this down. And then you have about 1/8 of an inch at the top and about 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. So I am going to peel off my score tape backing. And if you want to ensure that you put it on here straight, you can peel it only partially, and that will help you make sure. I am just going to eyeball mine to be sure that I have it where I want it. And once I have it where I want it, which that looks good, go up just a little bit, cover up that paper that I messed up. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to press it down and go in individually, and just with my finger, I'm going to push in all those 1/4 inch spaces. Then you can really burnish. Remember, we put tape all the way over to that 1/2 inch, the light 1/2 inch mark that we made. And the reason for that is so that you can, as you can see, now we can see where it bends. So you want to grab your book, one of the covers, do this on each side, and burnish that tape that's on that 1/2 inch section. Don't push too hard because you can push right through your paper. But before we do any gluing of this flap, we want to make sure that our paper is stretched enough so it doesn't buckle. So just grab your paper like so, and just work that paper into the fold. So you can see now it does not buckle, and we're able to put this down. Now you can use tape or you can use glue, either one for this part. I am just going to use glue. I'm going to lay this down, and I am going to add glue as soon as my glue decides to come out of the bottle. There we go. Okay, grab a rag because I'm going to have extra glue. And then I'm just going to gently go back and make sure that I don't have any buckling. And I have a little there, so I just want to work that buckling out. I don't want that. When this dries, I want to make sure everything folds and moves like it's supposed to. Okay. Add my glue to this side. And I'm going to let that dry a little. There we go. And there you can see we will have our book and we will have our 5 pages. All right. So, and I did crack my paper a little bit here. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue and I will cover that with some paper later. I'll patch it. It is easy to do. So next what I'm going to show you is how to make the shadow box that I'm going to put on the front, and then we'll move to the pages. So this little box here, my original album was going to be even smaller, so this one is way smaller than what we're doing, is a 4.5 by 4.5 shadow box, which your section in the middle would be way too small. And I've done some fussy cutting from the paper, and that's what's going to go into my shadow box. But I'm going to show you, let me grab my scoreboard, and I will show you how to make the right size, which I have here. So this is a diagram that I will make sure there's a picture so that you can see how the cutting is done. Now, for the 9 by 9, the directions are a little different. This was an 8.5 by 8.5 to make a 4.5 by 4.5. We want to make a 5 by 5, so we're going to do ours with the 9 by 9 paper. And what you want to do is put your paper on at that 9 by 9. We're going to score at 1/2, 1, 1.5, and 2. And you're going to do that on all sides. So 1/2, 1, 1.5, and 2. Flip it around, do the same thing. 1/2, 1, 1.5, and 2. Okay, and then once you have all 4 sides, 2 opposite sides, we're going to do another score line. For this one, I'm going to do my top and bottom. So I have this. Here is the 2 mark that we made. Go to 2.5, go up to that second 1/2 inch. Okay, so you're going up to the 1 here. So at 2.5 and 1, you want to score up. Okay, and that's going to give you, I'll show you the black one here so that you can see. That is this mark here. Okay, and then you're going to do that again on the 6.5 mark. And we're going to go up just to that second line. Flip it all the way around so that it's on opposite sides and do the same thing. 2.5 up to that second line, 6.5 up to that second line. All right. So then, as you can see from this diagram, what we're doing next is we are going to do some cutting. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to show you how I'm going to cut this out. So we're going to cut up this line, those 2 lines that you made, and then you're going to miter up this one and up to this one, okay, if that makes sense. So you want to cut at an angle on the third one, and then up. And that is what you get. So you cut up at an angle and up. And then we're going to cut this little tab off here. The rest of this that you see that's green on here is all going to go away. So let's do some cutting, and then I will show you this one done. So I am on that mark that we made that only goes up. I am going to cut up, and then I'm going to angle my scissors and go over and up. Okay, same thing on the 6.5 mark on the other side. Up, over, and up. Okay, now we don't want to cut this piece right here completely out, but it's the only one. So next what you're going to do is cut this whole section out. Leave that one tab. We're going to go up, and then we're going to cut these 3 out. And I will show you. So this is what we have now. Okay. So you want to miter this just a little bit, this little tab that's sticking out here. Give it a little miter on both sides, so it gets you this little tab. Okay. Same thing on this side. We're going to cut, leaving that little piece left. Go ahead and miter this while I'm doing it this time. And then I'm just going to cut the rest of this out. Okay. And then I can miter my other side. And then we have our little tab. Okay. And that's what we will do on the other side as well. So up to that second line, over, and up. Okay. Up to the second line, angled, and then up. Okay. I'm just going to cut this whole section out, miter my little flap. There we go. Same thing here. I'm going to cut this whole section out, miter my little flap. And cut those 3 cubes out. All right. So this is what you will have. You have your little tabs on both sides, and you have a long side and a short side. Now, to turn this into a box, into the shadow box, you merely need to go around and get all your score lines ready to go. So you want to make sure they're all nice and folded, because they need to be crisp to make a nice box shape. So just go around and burnish all the score lines. You want to make sure you get these nice and crisp and straight with one another so they're in line. It will make for folding them much easier. All right, so we're going to start with our sides. And we are just going to roll. So you have those all folded. As you can imagine, this is all going to roll up like so. Okay. This will make your first side. And then you just want to push your little tab down because that is going to hold on to these sides. So go to the next, which is one of our with the tab. Make sure that tab goes into here before you fold. All right. Then you're going to, it's not the easiest thing to show on camera just because there is so much folding going on. Hold on just a second. I think we need to do the small ends first on this. Yes. So you fold in your small end, which is the one that doesn't have the tabs, so the side pieces. We have it this way. These are the ones that we cut and mitered. So you're going to fold those up, and then you can fold the other one up. And now you can start to snap them into place. And you will add glue to the bottom. I'm not going to add glue to mine at the moment because I have a piece that's going inside, which I will show you. But this all needs to line up, and you need to make sure that your tabs go in. If they don't go in, your frame will not go together. And it is a little tricky to get this together. Aha, there we go. And I also suggest adding some tape, like you saw on my other one, while you're letting it dry. Because if you don't, it won't be all cohesive and straight. So I have this piece that I've already fussy cut some pieces from the paper. This is the one that is going on mine. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on so that I can put this all together for you. And then I will have mine ready to go for my cover. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this to the inside here because I can still add all of my dimensional elements, my fussy cuts, after the fact. So this just needs to go in here. So if you're putting in paper, which most people would, on the background here, make sure that you put it down before you assemble and glue your box together, your shadow box. All right, so that's going to be my background. And I actually took a pencil and lightly drew lines for myself where the frame was going to be when I was setting up where my little fussy cut elements were going, because I want to make sure that I have room for them all. All right, so let's fold in our frame here. Put a little glue down here, some glue on that tab so it pulls into this one, and some glue on the bottom of this one. And then I want to roll that all in. So I have one side together. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Some glue on the tab. And I'm going to put some glue on this tab, glue on this tab, glue on the bottom. Slide those tabs in first. Tricky, tricky. Come on, tab. Cooperate. Aha, there we go. And then just once you get it all glued, add a little bit of glue at your corners where they cross, and that will help it line up too. Once you get it all squared, just shoot a little glue in there. Having a little issue with my corner here. I'm not wanting to lay down and cooperate with me. Like I said, it can be a little tricky. It doesn't always do exactly what you want. There it goes. Okay. Got it. I'm going to add some glue here. Make this sit down a little better. Add some glue in there. Doesn't seem like it's sticking. You should be able to just kind of lift up that corner and add your glue. You can also use clips if you're cautious with them. I'll grab some here and see. We don't want them to squish it too much, but you can use them just while it's drying. All right, so I am going to set my box aside and let it dry. And then inside is where you would put all your fun little elements. If you're doing it as I am with the fussy cuts, you will have seen in my finished one. And I'm going to decorate the actual frame itself with some paper. So that is how you do that. Next, we'll move on to the pages. All right, so now that our page system is in the book with our gussets here, I have gone ahead and added paper to the front portions, the inside of my cover and my back. And I used the Spanish Moss My Colors cardstock, canvas cardstock for mats. And those are 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. And then I took 2 sheets of this paper here, and I've cut that to 4 3/4 by whatever I had, because we're going to add some pockets here. You can do them all the way at 4 3/4 if you'd like. I just used strips of what I had left over. So I'm going to add pockets to both of these. And for those, you need 2 pieces of the Craft Artisan at 6 inches long by 3 inches tall. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So both short sides and one of the long sides at 1/2 inch. And then we will simply miter our corners right up at that edge. I'm going to go all the way up to the tip of that corner so that your pockets don't overlap. And then just go ahead and fold over your score lines and burnish. And these will be nice little tuck pockets. And we are going to add glue to those 3 sides. And this will become 5 inches, so this will go all the way across. So you're going to go just outside of your matte green, making sure that you do not hit the score line, because this still needs to fold. So I'm going to pull this out a little, and I think I might have actually needed to make that a little shorter. I did. So let me, bear with me here. I am going to go ahead. This should be 5 7/8, excuse me, by 3, rather than that 6 inches. So I am just simply going to go in and score this 1/2 inch mark in a little bit, 1/8 inch, so that this fits better. But technically you'll want these to be 5 7/8 inches wide rather than the 6. And then go ahead and do your 1/2 inches on 3 sides and your mitering. And this should come out a little better. I'm just going to cut that 1/8 of an inch off the edge of my pocket. Excuse me. There's a very high pollen count in my area right now. So with air conditioners running and such, it's making me very dried out, unfortunately. So now that I have this at 5 7/8, and it'll be 2.5 inches tall, and now I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I just want to make sure that you go all the way over to the edge of that cover and all the way across the bottom at the edge. And if a little bit of the green pops out on this side, that's super fine. Just want to make sure that when we close our book, that once you have this up against the green on this side, the edge of the green, but we want to make sure that when we close this, the pocket doesn't get stuck. So, and it is not, so I'm good there. Give that a real good burnishing. And then I just cut some of the same paper that I had, and this will go on here. These will end up being 5 3/4. And again, I have cut them at 5 7/8, thinking I was going to have 6. So I'm going to cut these down to 4 3/4. So I want these to be 4 3/4. And I'm using Vintage Photo Distress ink on all of the decorative paper inside. I'm going to just glue this down to my pocket. I apologize for the mismeasuring there, but it's very easy to fix. So if you line this with your paper that's up here that's the same, you will get this right on here. And then I'll probably add a strip of something to the middle of the pocket, or one of the little sentiments, or some sort of fussy cut from the paper. So now you can see we have that fun little pocket. I'm going to go ahead and fix this one, which I did at 6. I need this to be 5 7/8. Or excuse me, is it? I grabbed the wrong piece of paper here. Oh, it's right here. So instead of 6 by 3, again, I want 5 7/8 by 3. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and go in and do my 1/2 inch on 3 sides. And then I will miter my corners for this pocket. And go ahead and fold all of my score lines down, and then I will burnish them all. And make sure, I'm going to use my scoreboard to make sure that I ended with a 4 7/8 pocket, which I did. So this one goes in the back. I'm going to go ahead and add glue to my 3 1/2 inch gussets, these little flaps, and place that right down on the green paper so that it lines up nicely. Make sure everything still closes, and then burnish. Don't want it to get stuck. All right. Everything closes nicely. Now I can add my piece of paper, which I need to cut this one again down to 4 3/4 and re-ink it. I'm going to add that to this. And I won't be decorating all of my pages on camera, but I am going to show you how to do the pages so that you can decorate using your own imagination. You can use a different paper collection entirely if that is what you choose to do. I will just let you know what the dimensions of the pockets are, and you can go from there. All right, so now we have a front pocket and a back pocket on our fun little brag book. Also, I have put together the shadow box that we did. I have added all of my little elements, and what I've used is some foam tape like such, like rolled, or you can use different squares. Just any 3D dimensional tapes with the foam are really easy to use, different widths, or excuse me, different thicknesses, and just build what you want in the background. And this is going to be our cover, so super duper cute. You could even turn this into a shaker box if you like. With all of the foam dimensions and such in there, all of your little bits would just get stuck. So that's why I chose to just leave it as it is. So now I'm going to dive in and show you the 5 pages. What we have are a couple different types of pages. So you're going to have one page that has a flip open. So this will require an 8.5 by 4 3/4 inch piece of your craft cardstock, and that was scored at 4 3/4. So you'll have this. So this will go on the page, and then we'll have a flip open. Then we will have 2 pages that have pockets. And this one's a little bit bigger. I'm not quite sure. You can do these any way you want, as long as your end result is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. This one has a 2-inch pocket. This one has a 3 1/4, or excuse me, no. This one has a 2-inch pocket, and this one has a 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 and 2.5. So it doesn't matter. I probably will actually cut this one down so they're even. What I'm doing is I'm using a lot of scraps in my craft. I wanted to go through some of the scraps that I had, and by doing that, I'm just kind of making different types of pages as I go. So we will have one that opens that has a 2.5 inch pocket, and another one that will have a 2.5 inch pocket. And I will show you how these go in the book as well. So then you're going to have one that opens fully. And for that, that one is going to be 9.5 by 4 3/4, scored at 4 3/4. And this one will go on the spine like so, and it will open. Okay, I think. Yes. It will go on like this, and it will open. So you'll have a whole book opening. And then lastly, we're going to make a pocket. Now this one's going to go in our middle. And what you'll need for this one, again, 9.5 by 4 3/4, scored at 4 3/4. And then you're going to have 2 pieces of paper, scrap, to make some gussets. And these gussets are 4 3/4 by 1 inch, and they are scored down the middle at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to burnish those. And these are going to go along here. So you want to put them on and see if they go all the way up. You can also miter these if you choose to. I am not going to. So I am going to take one of my gussets, put glue on one side, and with our folded out or folded down page out. So you want the opening facing the inside. Get this lined up nicely. Make sure everything lines up and closes. You may have to play with it a little bit just to make sure that it closes over. Yes, like so. And mine is not closing. So this is one of the reasons people like to miter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So just miter your ends slightly. They don't have to be a huge miter. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick that down again. Add my glue. Make sure everything closes, and it does. Make sure you line this all the way up to that top part of the page. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. I'm going to go ahead and burnish down my score line. Didn't do that previously. And I'm going to miter. And then I'm going to put this on the page. Again, opening facing inside. All right, and then you're going to just add some glue to the top flap there. And kind of hold those down a little bit and close your paper down. And then just really burnish everything out so that you don't have too much puckering. You don't want it to pucker. And then I am just going to grab a circle punch. This is a 2-inch punch that I'm using. And I just kind of want to find, so you know that this is 4 3/4. Kind of find your middle. I'm going to use my ruler here and try to find where that middle is, which is right about here. And I'm going to make a little mark. And here and here is going to be my 2 inches. Okay. And now I know when I stick this in here that I am lining up right about in the middle. I feel like that's a little far. I don't want it to be offset, so let me just see here. I need 2 inches, and my middle is, see, that's 2 1/4, so we're going to go 2 3/8, and 2 3/8 is where our middle is. So right here is my middle. And then this would be 1 inch, and this would be 1 inch. So this is where 2 inches is. So I want to put this right in here. Just kind of line those bars up and punch. Oh, that was loud. Sorry for that. And then, of course, when we put paper on here, we'll have to do that as well. And I really didn't want that big, but that's okay. So you can use anything you want. There is a punch guide that does a little bit different type of notch on the envelope punch board from We Are Memory Keepers that I use a lot. And I'm probably going to wish I had done that because this looks kind of off to me, but that's okay. So let's put these in the book. Super simple. And then I am going to decorate mine, and you will have seen it in my walkthrough when it's finished. So I want my pocket page that we made in the middle. We have 1, 2, and then the 3. So I'm going to put my pocket page right in the middle. Now, if you want to, you can miter these as well so they don't hang off, which I'm going to do. Because we have 4 3/4 and these are 4 7/8, they're a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go through and I am just going to do a small, very small little mitering. Not even, probably about a 1/16 of an inch in is where I'm mitering these. You can also do this before you place it in your book. I did not do that, so I'm doing it now. So now you can see that these are all mitered on the corners. So let's go ahead and put our first one in, which is going to be our pocket page in the middle. And I'm just going to run this 3/8 inch tape right down my inside of my gusset, my page gusset. And I'm just going to burnish that out. And I am going to peel that off, and then I want to line this up with the tape. Go almost all the way to where the score line is, but not quite, because I still want my page to turn nicely. So once you can see that you have it on there straight, there we go. So there's our first page, and we want to put it in because we're going to put paper over the top and we don't want to see this. Okay. So that is the middle page. That's how you will put all of your pages in. So the first page that has a flip, one of these is going to go on either side. I'm going to put this one here, so it'll be my first flip out page. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add score tape. You can also add your score tape if you want to make sure that you center everything. Let me move my book here so I can get into screen. Add your score tape to the page itself. If you do that, one, it ensures that your tape is not going to go over where you want it to go if you put too much tape on the gusset. And two, you don't have to peel it all the way off before you get it lined up. So in other words, if I take this and I peel it back part way and just kind of bend it, and then I grab my book here and I'm on that first one, I can actually set this down, line it up really well with that middle one that we already put in, and just make sure that I am straight and in a line before I peel my tape off. So it can be done either one of those ways. Whichever way works best for you is what's going to work for you. So now we have that, and that is going to have paper on it, and it will fold out. The next one is going to be one of our little pocket pages. So for that, I am going to just add glue. Now, if you want these to have room for more than just a tuck pocket, you can add gussets. I am just going to add a strip of glue on either side as close to the edge as I possibly can, and I'm going to flip it over. And I will add paper to the top up here later. Normally you would want to add your paper, your decorative paper first, so that it's a little bit easier. And actually, I probably should have done that to show you the correct way. So before I do that, I'm going to grab some paper and cut it. Let's see what we have going here. Where'd my paper collection go? Aha. So I want to cut a piece of paper from the collection to go on the edge of this. Now, I already have a few pieces that I have cut down that I would like to use up. But for this one, I'm going to do this fun little pattern I saw in here. I'm going to do this yellow here. So what I want to do, I have a 2.5 inch pocket. So I want to cut a piece of paper for the rest of that. So we're going to go with 3 because we know that's going to go down inside of the pocket. Now you can cover the whole thing if you want, but to save paper, I am not going to do that. So I'm just going to cut 3 inches, and then I'm going to cut this down to 4 5/8. Not quite 4 3/4, 4 5/8. Okay, so I made this fun little watering pot, and that is going to be what goes under my pocket. So you'll see it, I think. Or we can do the other side and put the pocket here. Yeah, I'm going to do the other side. I like it better. All right, so just go ahead and ink that paper. Looks like I might need some more ink. Not getting enough. Technically, you don't have to ink it on the spot where the pocket is going down, but I just did. So we'll leave it at that. So So I'm going to go ahead and add that glue to the back. And place this down. I cut it to where I can still see a little border of the craft cardstock all the way around. Grab my bag. And then we will add our strip of glue on both sides and fold it closed. And that is going to give you a fun little tuck pocket. Okay, and then we will also decorate this. I'm not doing that right now, but we will decorate that. So that is going to go in here. I'm going to go ahead, and I like to do mine this way. I just showed you the other way because it is an option. I like to put my tape on my gussets and then put the album inside. I use it to line me up, and so that way works for me. For you, it may work the other way better. So now I'm just going to line this up with that tape. Let's see where I put the tape. I want to be the same spot to line up with the next one here, okay? In other words, my top and my bottom of this page should be the same as the one before it and the one after it. So we get a nice even album. See, when you close this, you have the 1/4 inch in between each. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and add tape to these two to get them ready. And you will just put your other 2 pages in the exact same way. Now this one has a half opening and this one has a full opening, and that's totally fine. Except for that I did it. No, I want to move this back to the other way. So I need to cut this one. So this one I did the opening portion of it. It scored at 3 3/4. Well, it was scored at 4 3/4 the other way, but I'm going to cut my flap of this one down to 3 3/4. So I'm just going to put this on my cutter so it mirrors the one in the back. This one will go like so. Okay. And just again, I want to line up everything so that it goes with my other papers that are already in here, my other pages. Just make sure that it does, and it does. And then burnish that tape down. And now we have another one that opens this way. And then our final one is our other pocket page. So this one I need to cut some paper and add it, and then we will put it in the book just like we did the other one. So that is how to make this a fun little book. Super, super simple. And easy to do. And I will be adding my little fun shaker, or excuse me, shadow box on the cover of this.